My name is James Crawford. I'm here to show you how to make pie dough today in the food processor. So the first thing you want to do, you want to grab your cake and pastry flour. It's got a lower gluten content than all-purpose flour, so it really helps with your pie dough, prevents it from overdeveloping and getting chewy. So the first part of the recipe, 2¼ cups of flour. 1, 2, and 1/4. Then you're going to want to put in about a teaspoon of baking powder. That's a teaspoon. Slap your lid on your food processor. Give it a couple quick pulses to combine. So once that's done, I'm going to go into the freezer where I've got a ½ pound of butter chilling. I'm going to take half the butter out. I'm going to toss it in the food processor. Put it in and pulse it up a bit. So I've read before that incorporating your butter half at one time and half later helps with the texture, and I think it's nice because it gives you kind of this, I think the word they used was striated texture, but really it just gives you kind of 2 grades of chunks in your dough, which gives you kind of a more interesting texture, different flaky, different crumbly. So the second half of the butter is in the machine now. I'm just going to pulse that up until it's kind of coarse crumbs. So you can see most of the butter is incorporated now. So that's the time to add the fluid. We've got our butter mixed in there, so it's just kind of coarse fine crumbs. So now what I've got here is a ½ cup of fluid. So I've got 2 tablespoons of vodka, 1 tablespoon of vinegar, and the rest is just water. So we turn the machine on. A steady, slow stream. Pour in the liquid. It's all in there. It helps to shake around the machine just a little bit to make sure it's taking up the dough from everywhere. And I don't let the dough run in the machine until it comes together as a ball. I don't like that. And I think you get a flakier product like this. So now you can see on the counter, I've got quite the loose mess. So we'll pick that up, just kind of form it nicely together. And you see it's going to stick together quite nicely because there is enough fluid in there. It just wasn't all mixed together to one ball. So I'm going to take my dough divider, break it into half. So this is a recipe for 2 crusts. So that's either 2 single shell pies or 1 2-crust pie. It's going to form it into a loose round, kind of pat it out there nicely. You don't want to work it too much, but you do want to make sure it's all together. Pick up all the loose scraps like a little Pac-Man. Round it off into a loose round. A lot of baking work is a lot easier if you pre-shape. I do a lot of work with croissant, brioche, and baguettes and breads. And all of the work there is pre-shape. Because every little bit of work you do now is going to make sure you're going to have a nice, round, easy to work with product later. So anything you can do ahead of time for the dough to rest, you want to go ahead and do that. So now I'm not going to work this off as pie today. So what I'm going to do is put it in saran, wrap it up, and into the freezer. And into saran, wrap it up and in the freezer. So when you're taking this out of the freezer, you aren't going to want to microwave it. That's important. The trick is I take it out in the morning or the night before, and then you can work it the day after. Usually I just leave it in the fridge. If you were to roll it a little thinner, you could take it straight into the freezer and use it, but it's a little bit more compact. So I just chuck that all in there, and it's ready to keep. So that's my pie dough. So again, the numbers are 2¼ cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, then you're going to have 2 tablespoons of vodka. The alcohol evaporates differently, prevents gluten from developing, and then you're going to have a tablespoon of white vinegar or apple cider vinegar. Cider vinegar is nicer, but it's not essential. And then you're going to top it up for the rest, so you've got a ½ cup of fluid. So you top it up the rest with water. Leave that in the freezer before incorporating because cold prevents gluten development. Mix it all together in the machine, shape it on the table, and away you go.